So I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday when I came across a post from a mutual Ergos. It read, "Some Katibug stan made a video defending Katibugs, and it's complete shit," and attached a link to said video. Normally, I'd ignore some child's random vent post about drama, but when I looked at his profile, holy shit. From making rant videos about how Wilbur Soot's innocent to writing character AI bots that depict Shovel as an abuser, this stan is deranged. Hello everyone, my name is Arssen, and today we will be looking at Dewdrop's Official, also known as Dew. He's a Wilbur Soot and Katibug stan. Now, I don't know how you can support both. Like, you draw the line at tummy tickling for an hour, but you support biting women? It's funnier because George provided evidence of his innocence and Caiti has been proven to lie about what happened while Wilbur has given nothing. We'll be looking at the video he made about Katibugs, his video to Shovel supporters, and his character AI bots. First up, his video titled Katibug Situation.
Hi, this is going to be a slightly different video, but this is something I feel like needs to be made into video form for it to be explained properly. So recently on my YouTube there has been me and this person having a disagreement on a situation regarding Katibugs and George Not Found, which you can find via the screenshots I'm probably going to edit soon and put up when I upload this video. But for now, I just want to give my response. I'm going to be blunt about this because tiptoeing around this clearly isn't working anymore. I've already posted this on my YouTube, but I'm going to be reading it out anyway. Sitting in a room with somebody is not consent. I don't care if they were flirting there for an hour, if they were sitting there for an hour, if the lights were dimmed and music was playing. None of that gives someone the right to touch another person's body without asking. George admitted he touched her under her clothes without asking. That is not speculation. That is not a maybe. That is a confession. And there is a video on the longer format right under this one where you can watch where he said it multiple times.
Wait just a moment. You are being so disingenuous. They were cuddling and spooning for an hour before George started to touch at her waist. I understand that you're a mentally ill child, but nonverbal consent exists. Typically, the man starts slow when he touches and gauges if the woman is comfortable based on facial expressions, body language, etc. This type of sexual interaction is common with older Gen Z and millennials. Yes, verbal consent is the gold standard, but let's not act as if it is the only way to obtain consent. If we concede that George had to ask before initiating, we also have to acknowledge that Caiti had a responsibility to tell him she was uncomfortable. She stayed on the couch with him for an hour and more while he was slowly touching her, even got up multiple times of her own accord to drink more alcohol and say bye to Ghosty, then after the fact said that she was chilling in the moment. Let me remind you, she was comfortable to banter with him a month after, and even included his avatar in her vlog video when in her stream, she said she was haunted by him through usernames and profile pictures. She regretted the experience, and that's okay. It's okay to regret it. What's not okay is to accuse a guy of sexual assault because you regretted it later on.
Drunk or not, what he did was assault. People using the word drunk like it's a magical excuse. It's not. If you are too drunk to consent, then you are too drunk to touch someone. If you are sober enough to put your hand under someone's shirt, you are sober enough to ask first. And if you don't ask, that is not a oops, my bad. That is assault.
What George did was not assault. Also, the point of stating that they were both drunk is to indicate that he was not taking advantage of her. You are acting as if Caiti was blackout drunk and George was raping her. Let me make this clear. It is only sexual assault if the supposed victim tells you they don't want it, shows behavior like they're disengaged, non-responsive, visibly upset, or is being pressured into it. Acknowledging that George was also drunk makes it clear that he wasn't in a clear mind and had no intention of trying to assault Caiti. What actually happened based on all the information we have now is that he probably wanted to sleep with her, which explains how he was flirting with her the night before and the couch incident. However, when he saw that she didn't want to go back to his hotel room during the elevator incident, he backed off, which means that if she showed him she was uncomfortable or not cool with doing that, he would not continue what he's doing.
Her lying about her age does not make what he did okay. Like, that's just because she did doesn't mean it makes anything that happened okay, and that is dangerous logic. Lying about your age is wrong, yes, but it doesn't give someone a free pass to violate your body. Acting like her lying erased his responsibility is not okay either. It didn't. He still made a choice, and he admitted to that choice.
Violate her body? We are reaching over here, and Caiti lied a lot more than her age. She depicted George as this predatory older man who pressured her to drink while she was there drunk, unable to breathe and move on the couch. Caiti omitted important context such as the fact that they were cuddling and spooning while he was touching her. All parties involved were drunk, and it was her friends who wanted to play the drinking games. If you watched her initial stream and then read her Twitter statement, those are two different stories. It is also such a huge lie to say he admitted to it because it removes all the context behind the event. He pushes back on the lies that she said and provides the actual context of what happened. That is not admitting to it. That's giving clarification and his side of the event. Since you're clearly a dumb child, let me break it down for you using a simpler example. Let's say a guy ate a girl's sandwich. The girl claims the guy stole the sandwich, and the guy says he did eat the sandwich. However, he says that she gave him the sandwich. Just because he said that he did action A, which is eating the sandwich, does not mean he did action B, which is stealing the sandwich. Action A occurred, but because of the circumstances surrounding it, it does not mean action B also occurred.
People keep saying, especially the person I've been talking to said she should have had awareness. Seriously? You are blaming her for being drunk at a party and getting touched without her consent like that's something she should have planned for. No one goes out hoping to get violated. No one is responsible for someone else assaulting them, especially because they weren't aware enough. That's just classic victim blaming dressed up as logic. Again, if you are sober enough to touch someone, you are sober enough to ask.
Yes, I hear myself loud and clear. I am blaming her for not expressing any discomfort at all. You act as if she couldn't have done anything to get out of the situation. This isn't a case of being blackout drunk and being raped. Caiti knew she was uncomfortable yet never expressed it in the moment to George, Ghosty, or anyone else in that hotel room. Instead, she displayed behaviors that indicated she was comfortable around George and what he was doing. Also, I know you're a Wilbur Soot stan. We can use the same logic that you're using here. Shelby didn't date Wilbur hoping to be bitten. She's not responsible for him biting her so hard. That's just a classic victim blaming dressed up as logic. But you participate in it too, so what does that make you? Oh, right. A hypocrite.
This isn't and will never be about ruining George. It was about holding him accountable. People keep crying about his reputation like it's worth more than her bodily anatomy. She didn't go on a PR campaign. She told her story after she wrote it down in her notes app. Like, what? She said what happened, and if that makes people uncomfortable or make them see George differently, maybe that says more about what he did than what she did. Than what she said, even.
Sure, buddy. It's not like all of the Brighton crew and their orbiters dogpiled on George, calling him a disgusting assaulter before he even put out a response. We could also say the same thing about your beloved Wilbur, who went through the same fucking thing. If it was actually about accountability, they would have talked about it in private when Average Harry tried to weaponize the situation against Dream back in August of 2023. This was a smear campaign that was done because they saw how effective the stream strategy was against Wilbur. You're an idiot because in her first stream, she painted George as a predatory assaulter and removed key details about what happened that night. She lied about what happened and used the language of actual victims to push her bullshit.
Okay, and let's be completely honest. George only responded because he got caught. I am going to stand by this. Don't act like he came forward out of moral integrity. He admitted it because he had no choice to, because somebody brought it up in what happened in her worldview. Okay? That's what happened. That would have stayed completely silent if she hadn't said anything. And the only reason he came forward and explained it, and didn't really apologize, mind you, is because he got caught. He even tried to shift the blame to bring up unrelated stuff about an online friend from Japan being there, and how big the hotel room was, and all this other stuff, and painted her as she was being misled. And all these other things in his response video. He's refusing to take accountability while taking accountability, if that makes any sense. He said, yeah, I touched her, but conveniently leaves out the fact that he didn't ask for consent and adds in details she either misinterpreted or miscommunicated, which she admitted, or brought up completely irrelevant details. Okay?
He responded because she made a public stream about the situation with her friends liking posts, confirming that it was about him. Also, those irrelevant details were important context to the situation because she tried to paint him as a pseudo-pedo assaulter. George didn't even know it was a problem since no one told him. They all went after Dream back in August 2023 for inviting an underage 18-year-old to drink in a hotel room. No mention of sexual assault there.
Bottom line, if you think being drunk and flirty justifies touching someone without permission, you are part of a problem. If you think a victim speaking out is smearing someone instead of surviving, you are a part of the problem. And your reaction to someone sharing a painful personal story with, well, she should have been more careful. You are not defending fairness. You are defending assault. You keep saying she should have done this or that differently. Here's what George should have done differently. He should have kept his hands to himself. Simple as that. Keep your hands to yourself. Stay safe. I love you guys.
If you think that nonverbal consent and regret doesn't exist in this situation, you are a part of the problem. Instead of focusing on actual victim stories, you elevate false accusations because you do not understand the nuances when it comes to situations like this. You and your fellow stans act as if George raped her when all that happened was an awkward tummy tickle that turned into a boob grab. She displayed behaviors that indicated she was comfortable with him and his touch. She stayed on that couch, only got up to get more drinks, then sat back down with him to cuddle. Here's what Caiti should have done differently. Told him she was uncomfortable instead of going on stream. The most baffling thing about Dewdrops is that while he supports Caiti Bugs, he's also part of the Wilbur support squad, fanatics who insist that Wilbur is completely innocent. Now, personally, I am skeptical about the claims of abuse, sexual assault, and grooming levied against him due to lack of actual evidence or witness testimonies regarding those specific incidents. However, I'm not going to say that Wilbur is innocent when he has provided absolutely nothing that absolves him of anything. Caiti would hate your ass, Dew. She spoke out against Wilbur too. Let's look at Dewdrops' video titled, Dear Shovel Supporters, Let's Talk. So we have a gotcha tuber with the on-screen text that I know was made on fucking CapCut. As a gotcha PNG tuber myself, this is so cringe, bro. Make an essay instead of a video if all you're going to do is make your viewers read. And make your character move. Why is she in the same pose throughout the entire thing? Well, let me read it since I'm making a video and not an essay.
Pause to read. There are reasons and there is proof and evidence that Shelby is a liar. I am also aware of the apology and how it sucked. But that doesn't mean he admitted to abuse. He admitted to the consensual biting. The only reason he thought it was okay, because of Shelby saying it was okay. He may have taken a second or less to let go, but that's normal human reaction time. And please do not forget, you do not have proof it happened. Shelby never had bruises, but Wilbur has. You are blindly supporting a liar that has done the same thing with her past two exes, Parker and Speedy.
I will agree that Wilbur did not admit to abuse, since he stated within the second page of his statement that he was shocked by the abuse allegations and that he thought the biting was consensual but won't release the text. As someone who has combed through all of Shovel's VODs, I saw no bruises, but at the same time, I did not see any bruises on Wilbur either. You also have no evidence that Shovel accused Parker and Speedy. I've looked around in WSS Twitters, Tumblrs, Pinterests, YouTube accounts, and your own quotive evidence book and found absolutely nothing of the sort.
Not to mention, someone has shared their experiences with Shelby, and let me just tell you, if it's true, then Shelby isn't a good person. I won't believe it right away, but I do think it might be true. Let's not forget Shelby's cousin coming out saying Shelby hit Wilbur. You chose to believe a famous person who you don't know the true story of, let alone have solid proof, but you won't believe her family member that has an extremely descriptive story of Shelby hitting Will, and even Wilbur having a song dedicated to a hotel room and being slapped. Or in other words, we need proof to prove Wilbur's innocence, but y'all don't?
What are you talking about? The cousin thing was disproven. There was no actual evidence provided by that person indicating they were actually cousins. Besides, Shovel's been doxxed before. You could have found if they were related through the white pages. But as with the other statements, no evidence either. I don't know what song he's referring to here, but just because Wilbur made a song about one experience doesn't mean it's about Shovel. It could just be about anyone or an idea.
I'm aware Shelby debunked this, but she didn't. Shovel said she has one cousin who is male. That is not true. Shelby and her female cousin were in the early seasons of My Street as teachers.
She proceeds to show a clip from AFMAO's series My Street Phoenix Drop High Season 2, Episode 4, where Shovel voiced one of the teachers.
Hey, it's AFMAO! AFMAO!
Lawrence? Gareth? Ah! Welcome to Creative Writing, students. My name is Miss Shelley. We're going to be taking it easy today and start out by writing what you all did this summer. But instead of just writing it out, you can talk with your peers about what you did. This will be a great chance for everyone to get to know each other. So let's begin.
There is just one teacher, Miss Shelley, voiced by Shovel in the clip. Are you a schizophrenic? Are you seeing things that I'm not seeing? Where's the proof here? You're just showing that she voice acted for AFMAO. There's no cousin.
Everyone thought it was Wilbur due to her description about her ex. Days later, Wilbur comes out with an apology saying that it was him. Most people say that the apology sucked, but Wilbur supporters think the only reason it sucked was because it was staged, due to him not knowing what to say because it's not true, or maybe just because it was rushed due to the situation getting out of control. Also, by looking at other evidence, you can see that it will make more sense and it was a very good apology. Also with the apology, it doesn't confirm that he did that. It says he thought it was consensual because of the text messages he and her would send to each other and because she said it was okay. She admitted this in a stream claiming that it was consensual. It took him a second to respond because of normal reaction time. Some people are slower than others. He never admitted to abuse, and of course it's about him. It's what he thought was happening. From his point of view, why would he even talk about Shelby's point of view when she already talked about hers? He isn't her. You also don't have to mention someone's name for an apology for it to be considered an apology. It matters how sincere it is. Apologies don't have rules.
First of all, that's not an excuse to have the shittiest apology. The only person here to blame for Wilbur's statement is himself. If you are being accused of abuse, you are expected to provide evidence to exonerate yourself. Nobody else should be doing it for you. He refuses to show the DMs where she said she consented to being bitten until she bruised. I hold the same standard of evidence for both parties. Why should I believe Wilbur is innocent if he put zero effort into proving his innocence? The point of Shovel bringing up the biting was that she was okay with the action of biting but not the severity. Here's a clip from her first stream where she clarifies that.
And I had no problem with just biting. That isn't even the most uncommon thing. But he did mention something early that I should have taken as a red flag. And he wanted to make sure that I was okay with him biting me because he didn't want me to come back later and say that he abused me, which I thought was really weird considering he had never hurt me before. And so why would I call it abuse? And why was he thinking about that? And I thought he was being sweet, checking on me to make sure that I was still comfortable. But of course I was, because he hadn't hurt me. And why would I think he ever would?
When Shelby and Wilbur were dating, Shelby would post almost every day on her Instagram, wearing skirts, short sleeves, bikinis, etc., showing over half of her skin. No bruises whatsoever. Wilbur, however, has had bruises visible and looked genuinely miserable. In one picture, his eyes were red and puffy, and he had a bruise on his neck. And yes, Shelby could have covered her bruises up with makeup, but let's talk about how Wilbur had bruises, even if it was from self-inflictment. Couldn't he have covered them up as well? Why didn't he? When self-inflicting, you wouldn't want anyone to see because you would be scared what people would think. Not to mention, Shelby always looked happy and proud. She never showed any signs of hurt or abuse. Wilbur, on the other hand, looked miserable every time he was seen with Shelby.
Now, I have an enlisted video where I go through every VOD, Instagram photo, stories, TikToks of Shovels from 2022 to 2023 to check for bite mark bruises, and I found nothing. I've also gone through photos of Wilbur and I didn't see any bruises either. He never claimed that Shovel would bite him back or inflict him with bruises. Besides, wouldn't have one of his friends come out and state that she'd hit him or talk about how Wilbur had various bruises? Saying that she looked happy and proud is not a good argument either. People can hide what they are actually feeling. Shovel stated that she would laugh in the moment, but then tell him later in private that she didn't want to be bitten like that. Here's some pictures of them together. They're both smiling and seem happy with one another. Yet that doesn't reflect the reality of the relationship. It's almost like people can hide how they actually feel.
He has also made multiple songs about past exes. He would mention being abused in the songs. Some of the songs were about Shovel still talking about how he was abused. You can even hear Shelby's voice in Standing Amazon Lamp or whatever it's called. But it was proven to be Shelby's voice with some editing by a person.
That does not prove anything, and it especially doesn't prove that those songs were about Shovel. Wilbur made the song Your Sister Was Right, where he sings, I use everyone I ever meet. I can't find the perfect match. Abuse those I love, while I ostracize the ones who love me back. So your point is moot. You cannot prove that these songs, which you don't even name, are about her. In the song that you do mention, that does not even sound like her. Here's the snippet of that.
No. It's not you again, is it?
Shovel has also encouraged her fan base, which killed 4 minimum children, due to still believing in Wilbur. Wilbur supporters and Wilbur are currently being doxxed and threatened with death threats. A kid killed themselves, and you wanna know what half of Selby's supporters, in parentheses toxic, did? All they said was, womp womp, or deserved.
Who cares? Just log off the internet, change your details. Don't use the same username for all your accounts. I am not going to believe that these children killed themselves without an obituary. I feel no sympathy. That's the nature of the internet. I got dogpiled on Twitter for doubting that Hey I'm Rue's a victim, and I had people on my ass. Did I try to kill myself? No. I just muted the tweet and had it so that only verified users can message me. As a result, they weren't able to harass me. You support a guy that is seen as an abuser who admitted his abuse online. This is just the consequences of choosing to support a guy like that. Don't like it? Don't post positively about him in public.
While Shovel herself has never encouraged her fans to do this, she has. She regularly likes posts that even hint to Wilbur being harmed or even killed. She doesn't try to stop them either, making her automatically guilty by association.
Do you have proof of this? I have looked through Twitter for screenshots of these claims and found nothing. You're lying again, as well as when you say she didn't try to stop them. Here's a statement from her alt account. I have obviously never asked anybody to send death threats on my behalf. I am also receiving death threats. Everyone should stop. Why do I have to be the one to say that? I don't want people fighting each other in my replies. I don't want anyone wishing harm on one another. I spoke up because I didn't want more harm to be done to anyone else. Don't reply to people we cannot change the mind of. Block them.
People are saying that Will has broken a law and Shovel is innocent, and I hate to break it to you. Article 188, libel. Article 189, insult inflicted in a public speech or in a printed or publicly displayed work or in the media. Article 203I, legal actions regarding information about private life and personal data. Article 352, unlawful acquisition of computer information, Wilbur's personal data. Article 355, violation of the rules for operating a computer system or network.
You are not a lawyer, and you are not involved in the private details of the situation. There are certain criteria for her statements to be considered libel, and if her statements are true, then it doesn't fall under that. Besides, you pull up defamation laws in Germany and America. How about England, where he actually lives? I hate it when people do this and They're not lawyers who specialize in defamation or abuse cases. You have no understanding of the legal framework, you don't know if there are caveats to it, or even if Wilbur himself has broken a fair share of laws. When it comes to a situation like this, leave the law analysis to law students or actual lawyers who know their craft.
These are all laws Shovel has broken, so currently Shovel is more guilty than Wilbur.
No, dewdrops. It doesn't work like that. Where is the concrete evidence that Shovel has done any of this? You can't say just because she talked negatively about him on stream that she broke a law. If that were the case, all of us have broken laws.
Section 1, Part 2. The Other Victims.
Oh boy, now we'll hear his takes on Alice and Rue. Surely it wouldn't be as delusional as his claims on Shovel.
Alice's story doesn't match. The math doesn't work with what Shelby said about Wilbur not dating for 5 years before they got together. Nikki was the one to always flirt with Wilbur, she was the one to engage and hug him without him asking, and even hit on, as in flirt him. Minx's story is just off. I find it hard to believe. People don't act the same on junk, and it could have just been miscommunication.
You do understand that Wilbur could have lied to her, right? We have pictures of Alice and Wilbur together. They interacted on Twitter during that time. She is in his Discord and has interacted with the people there. For Nikki, it's a fair point, but for Minx, dude. You don't know how Wilbur acts when he's drunk, but Minx claims to have witnessed it.
Rue's story heavily implied to Wilbur. However, her statement can't be true because this happened specifically during 2022/2023 when Wilbur and Shovel were dating. Shelby said this herself. Rue is not a victim of grooming as she consented to be in a sexual relationship with him, even though it's not true because Wilbur would have been cheating on Shelby then. Rue said that her abuser was 7 years older than her, and Wilbur and Rue have a 4-year age gap, so it might not even be Wilbur.
Wilbur and Shovel broke up in April 2023 based on the timeline she gave. Rue did not have a concrete timeline, but she was seen hanging out with Wilbur and Lovejoy from August to October 2023. While we never had a confirmed age from her, we know that she's around Tommy's age and he's 21. Wilbur's 28. The ages matches up. Also, she stated her abuser was way older than her and made an emphasis about how she was 17 at the time. I don't know where you got the lie that she stated the age gap because I was the one who archived those clips and posted it on my archive channel.
And about Alice. If you look back on Shovel's stream, she said that the abuser, Wilbur, said that he hadn't dated anyone in 5 years when they met. Then Alice pops up claiming that she dated Wilbur in 2019. Shovel and Wilbur dated in 2022/2023, and the math doesn't work out. There's another fault in Alice's story. She said they met up in a bar in 2021, but might I remind you that 2020 to 2021 was peak COVID. Pretty much everything was closed, and Wilbur has hypochondria. This makes him incredibly anxious about his health, so he would not have risked the chance of getting COVID just to meet up with a girl. There's also a post from the official Uber account that shows how pretty much everything was closed when Alice claimed to have met up with Wilbur.
As I said before, Wilbur could have lied to Shovel. You are spreading another common lie about the situation. Bars and pubs were open in 2021. I have articles here stating that they were open as early as April 2021. I don't buy the excuse that Wilbur's a hypochondriac when in 2021, he got into drama because he and other creators attended G. Nelly's birthday party. He had no issue going to an open-air event where he could get sick, so why should we treat him being a hypochondriac as some magical excuse that he couldn't have gone with Alice to a bar? The Uber post that Dewdrops mentions here is probably from the Twitter post debunking the entire situation. They even used this screenshot to prove bars were closed for the entirety of 2021. It just announces that there is a national lockdown and that Uber Eats will still function. If you do a quick Google search, or even ask Gemini for sources, you will find that Ubers were operational especially in June 2021. Alice never gave a specific date on when it happened, so you should stop pushing this lie. There are more tangible things to go after Alice for, such as the fact that she refuses to post the supposed Instagram DM that she had with Wilbur, the key evidence that proves that they didn't meet up.
Alice claimed that she would hide in Wilbur's room's corners while he was streaming. First of all, he was living with his parents? There's also a clip from a video featuring CPK where he showed his room, and there wasn't any possible corners to hide in.
The corners are a dumb point too, because this guy was streaming video games in a static position. She could be staying in a part of his room not seen by the camera.
Nikki has also come out saying she experienced the same thing, but in every stream her and Wilbur were in together, Nikki would always be the one to flirt with Wilbur. She even posted on her Snapchat one time to someone who asked, "Who or what is very underrated?" She answered with Wilbur. He is very nice and really cute. Not to mention, Nikki would always be the one to hug him. He never asked for a hug or even went for a hug first. She would even joke with him about being abused. Nikki also showed no signs of uncomfortableness.
Nikki acknowledged in her tweet that at the time, she had no problem with him. It was only after Shovel streamed her story that she changed her mind.
Minx as well came out with the story. Minx claims that while Wilbur wasn't sober, he accused her of trying to drown him while he was vomiting in the toilet. You cannot blame him for thinking that. If it is true, once again, no evidence. Everyone acts differently when they are under a lot of alcohol.
Again, even more excuses for Wilbur. Minx is a he said she said type of testimony. She recounted a negative interaction with him. I find it has little importance in the grand scheme of things.
Section number 2. Extra information.
Oh god, it's not done yet. We have even more excuses for Wilbur.
Shelby has mocked mental health and depression. In her stream, she said it was just an excuse for Wilbur acting the way he supposedly did.
No, she did not mock mental health and depression. She just said that it's not an excuse for Wilbur's poor behavior. That is not mocking.
Shelby also called the suicides of the 4, at the time children, fake. She refuses to believe that she has caused deaths, and one of my friends got doxxed and threatened to be killed because she supported Wilbur. Shelby hasn't even made an effort to stop this, and when she did mention it in a stream, all she did was talk about how her fanbase was being doxxed. Not the Wilbur supporters, nor Wilbur.
Shovel is not responsible for the actions of her supporters if she said to not send death threats. I will reiterate again that I don't care about those suicides because unless there is an obituary, I don't believe everything I read online. If internet drama is too much for you, log off.
My friends have had to stop associating themselves with Shelby and her support group because of issues like this. They don't feel safe on their own channels at times either. That is not okay.
Boo-hoo. Wilbur is seen as an abuser in the broader internet. Of course, people who support him will get shit on. Obviously, I have my own issues with her support squad considering they lack reading comprehension and can't address criticisms. But that's a common problem. Both the Wilbur support squad and the Shovel support squad share.
A person has also come out saying that they were groomed by Shelby. They reported that it happened on Twitter and that Shelby asked for their address. They told her their address, and a few days later, them and Shelby had started talking on Discord. Shelby started talking about lewd things. After that, Shelby had sent pictures of herself to them. Shelby asked for pictures of them back since she showed pictures of herself. However, they were uncomfortable and refused to. Shelby got mad and threatened to leak their address if they didn't send any pictures. They had no choice but to go along with it. Know that this person was a fan of Shelby at the time. Shovel has also recently been found out to have an active OnlyFans account.
You know, Dewdrops, it's really funny how you position yourself as an advocate for victims and accuse Shovel of breaking laws when you're here defaming her. There's zero proof that she groomed a minor. Why do you take what random Wilbur stands say as credible proof when it's just their word? You provide no evidence backing your claims either. Isn't that just a violation of the laws you cited before? Or are you upholding a double standard simply because you hate Shovel for taking down your beloved Wilbur's reputation? She doesn't even have an active OnlyFans account. The most I could find are deepfakes. You know, inappropriate images generated without the person's consent.
Section 3. Shovel supporters. Now let's get to you. Your community is one of the most hateful places a person can be. I can't open Wilbur-related videos without seeing comments talking about the situation. Why do you think it's okay to send this man death, rape, doxing, etc. threats? I'd love to see your parents' faces when they catch you doing that, as it's a felony. You are not victims. You're supposed to be group supporting an alleged victim, and with your behavior online telling Wilbur Support Squad and Neutral these horrible things, slurs, threats, etc., you can do to jail and have to pay a fine. You aren't supporting a victim by spewing hate every opportunity you get.
I disavow any sort of these threats being made. However, you are not going to jail for most of these. I doubt any WSS is rich enough to pursue legal action against random stan accounts shitting on them. If you're being targeted by the Shovel Support Squad, dude, just mute the conversation and set limits to your Twitter DMs. You can block and mute users or words. It is easy to curate your online experience so that you won't be harassed. This is the reality of supporting a guy who's now known on the internet as an abuser. It's a consequence of Wilbur's poor response and non-existent evidence to the situation. How is the internet going to believe that he's innocent if he doesn't exonerate himself? Dewdrops then proceeds to show images from Pinterest where people shit on Wilbur and his supporters.
All Nibbler Soot fans get no attention IRL, so they beg for online. Wilbur Soot, more like will break your trust. Ew, it's back. Get it a rabies shot. Wilbur, more like will hurt you. Nibbler Soot needs to be dropped into the dog pound. Anyone who doesn't support Shelby is a misogynist. Wilbur's new song was awful. I just know #WSS stank.
These are such nothing burgers. Who cares? They aren't even doing anything crazy. These are mild insults. Again, this is the reality of what happens when your favorite content creator lacks the spine and the evidence to defend himself.
Sammy says, "Oops, you're not funny. If nibbler, then shingle." What's It replies, "Oops, not my problem. Sorry your parents abandoned you." Sammy then responds, "What the fuck is wrong with you? I have both parents? How did this mean I don't have parents? Seems like your creator really reflects your personality." And the caption here is, "We're spreading positivity with this one."
Wow, you and the Sammy person are some of the most thin-skinned individuals that I have seen. You talk shit, you get shit back. That's normal on the internet. If you can't take the heat, don't dish it. Stop being a fucking crybaby.
Is this really the support group you aspire to be? Newsflash, bullying someone for something that proves their innocence more than being guilty does not make you a good person. You are no better than an abuser if you bully people. Thank you for your time.
It's really insane that you try to preach from some moral high ground when your actions are worse than what I've seen from Shovel supporters. Last I checked, I didn't see any Shovel supporters making fanfics and AI bots depicting a real person who claims to be a victim of abuse as the abuser. You heard me right, guys! Dewdrops has a character AI account where he makes bots about Shovel and Wilbur. I found it via his Linktree page, and the username is the same with the YouTube account. Let's take a look at it, shall we? The official bot creator, Dewdrops, you found me. Hello. Hello indeed, you fucking schizo. He, him with a trans flag. Reality shifter. Oh dear lord, it's one of those people. You're just lucid dreaming, my guy. Fanfic writer, content creator, musician, and author. Hashtag Wilbur Support Squad and hashtag Shovelphobic. You're really not trying to pretend that you hold a fair assessment about the drama, are you? Here are their bots, sorted by their most chats. There are more bots, but these are the ones worth paying attention to. First up, we have Shelby Grace. You will listen to me. Well, I wonder what's the plot of this.
You are the daughter of the Twitch streamer Shelby Shovel or Shelby Grace. Despite what people thought and what Shelby put out into the world, you two did not have a good relationship. Shelby completely exploited you for views and attention, not caring about your mental health or well-being whatsoever. You two have never had a good relationship in general. You were relaxing in your room after school, doing the fun parts of your homework while listening to your music before your mom yelled at you from whatever part of the house she lived in to, "Come here!" You went to go see her, confused. "Yeah, Mom?" You asked her, raising a brow while stepping into the kitchen where she stood in front of the dishwasher. "Why aren't your chores done?" she asked, upset, arms crossed. She'd been doing this recently, moving more of the household work she'd agreed to do, so it was less on you since you had school.
So we have an abusive mother roleplay, and she's mad about the chores not being done. Character AI also has a feature where you can add voices to your characters, which makes it more realistic. Maybe we can give the benefit of the doubt. After all, this is fiction, the bots aren't real. Let's see the second one with the trigger warning for abuse.
You never accepted your girlfriend to lay your hands on you. You'd been friends for years, having known her before she even started streaming and being content creators for a very long time. Of course, after her bad relationships with Parker, Speedy, and Wilbur, you eventually realized that you two had crushes on each other. You waited patiently for her to heal, and eventually you two started dating. You'd wished you could go back and correct that mistake. Shelby hurt you time and time again, both mentally and physically. You were starting to realize her ex weren't the problem, but Shelby, and in her manipulative way, she would turn the attention around on her if you talked about it. After time passed, you both had a mutual okay breakup, and you knew you had to speak up before she twisted this narrative around on you to hurt you, your life, and your career. You couldn't let this continue on. You needed to advocate for yourself and for her ex-boyfriends that had most likely been hurt before you.
What the fuck? Genuinely, what the hell did I just read and listen to? You know, it's normal to be skeptical of a story where neither party wants to release any tangible evidence in the forms of DMs, photos, videos, and more. But it is a whole other thing about depicting a person who has come out about their experiences as an abuser. I don't care if this is a fictional work. Clearly, by your YouTube videos, posts, and how you talk about the situation, you genuinely believe this shit. Dewdrops, you are so deep in cuckoo land that you believe every single claim against Shovel, but you excuse everything that Wilbur has done. You ignore the fact that none of his former friends defend him. He hasn't addressed any of the claims levied against him with actual evidence. You can't say he's innocent. And you especially cannot say Shovel is an abuser when you don't have shit. Next bot.
You were Wilbur Soot's child. You've been living with your dad for as long as you can remember. He's been through some really crappy things, but he never lets those things get in the way of hurting you. You're his pride and joy, and he loved you more than anything. Of course, then he meets Shelby. You're very skeptical about her, but she seemed nice. Eventually, the two got married. Social media was made aware, and everyone was absolutely ecstatic, except you, but you put a smile on your face for your dad, seeing how happy he was. You wished you'd seen the signs earlier on. It had been 2 years since then, and Shelby had turned into a narcissistic, abusive wife to Wilbur and stepmother to you. You two had gone shopping, your idea, so Wilbur could have a few hours to himself, get some songs done, maybe, or even just sleep a bit. Of course, things had gone poorly. Someone and Kat called you walking back to the car, and you'd gotten upset, of course. But when you got in the car, Shelby went off on you. You are such a brat, she huffed, starting the car. What? You asked, startled with the comment. You'd already been upset she hadn't said anything when you'd gotten catcalled. You! Getting all pissy about being complimented when you left the house, she motioned to you with one hand, navigating the parking lot. Like that.
Are you guys seeing the pattern here? This is a delusional person writing and making these bots depicting Shovel as an abuser, when that is not the case at all. I may be skeptical of the claims that she presented, but that doesn't mean I will co-sign on doing this horrible shit. Shovel has been sexually assaulted before and has spoken out against misogynistic behavior. This is literally, he will not fucking say that to your shit. You are so clouded by your unhealthy parasocial attachment to a guy you don't even know that you cannot analyze evidence without being heavily biased. To do drops, your credibility is compromised. You cannot act as some morally superior stan who supports victims and goes against harassment when you have done worse. You claim to have evidence against Shovel, yet you don't present any, and it's just your word. Your entire quote-of book is filled with yapping and nothing credible. No photos, videos, or DMs seen that supports what you claim. When you do present something, it doesn't even align with what you say. You also have a tendency to censor people when they disagree with you. You cannot handle it when people criticize you, and you only want your fellow Wilbur support squad to praise you for doing such a good job. If you do see this video, don't excuse your actions with, "Oh, I'm a minor," and "Oh, I'm a victim too." I've met other people who support Wilbur and those who support Shovel. This is the first time I've seen someone as fucked in the head as you. You are a delusional retard obsessed with the image of Wilbur Soot you conjured up in your head. I look forward to seeing whatever response you come up with and documenting you further. Hey guys, if you reached the end of this video, thanks for watching and please subscribe. I've been busy with my academics and I've also been sick, so I haven't been posting or streaming at all. I'm thinking of making more pre-recorded content. Hopefully I get things out quicker, especially for topics that aren't MCYT drama, since my channel has been way too saturated with that.